In the current ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, Iran's terrorist proxy is demanding the release of convicted Palestinian terrorists in exchange for innocent Israeli hostages that have been held for nearly 16 months in brutal, inhumane conditions. But many of the Palestinian prisoners aren't just petty criminals. They've been convicted of violent crimes, including the maiming and murder of innocent Israelis. This isn't the first time a deal like this has been put on the table for Israel to secure the release of its hostages in Gaza. The most famous example was Gilad Shalit, who was kidnapped near the Kerem Shalom border crossing in 2006 by Palestinian terrorists and who was held hostage for 5 years. His release in October 2011 was the result of an exchange much like the current exchange. One Israeli hostage for over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, infamously including Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind behind the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel. This current exchange has put Israel back in the difficult position of once again facing the reality of exchanging innocents for terrorists. Innocents like Kfir and Ariel Bibas, siblings that at 2 and 5 years old respectively have been held hostage in Gaza, along with their mother Shiri, and separated from their father Yarden for nearly 16 months now. They're being exchanged for the release of people like Zakaria Zubeidi, a commander of the Fatah-aligned terrorist group, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, who organized a number of terrorist attacks, including one in Beit Sha'an in 2002 that resulted in the murder of 6 Israelis. Or Ahmed Barghouti, who is sentenced to 13 life sentences in Israel for his involvement in terrorist attacks in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem that resulted in the murder of 12, including a police officer. Or Khalida Jarrar, a member of the terror group Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, who was convicted for her role in the 2019 bombing in Judea and Samaria of 17-year-old Israeli Rina Schnurr. Let's be clear about what this exchange represents. On one side is Israel, a democratic nation doing everything in its power to bring innocent civilians home. On the other side is Hamas, a jihadist terrorist organization that prioritizes the annihilation of the Jewish state above all else, including the lives of their own people. And yet, much of the media's coverage has been focused on humanizing the Palestinian prisoners being released, with ample airtime and call images devoted to mothers welcoming terrorists home, paralleled with little to no coverage of the 3 Israeli women released by Hamas who endured 16 months in captivity in Gaza under brutal conditions. 82% of the prisoners released in the Gilad Shalit deal returned to terrorism in some capacity. And the hard truth is that some of these prisoners now being released will likely do the same. This is the risk and sacrifice Israel is willing to make to save its people from bondage. Let's be clear about what this deal between Hamas terrorists and Israel actually is. Israel is literally exchanging terrorists for toddlers, and the media has a responsibility to tell this truth to the world.